Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kian and
I'm Kyle.
This is Kyle, my fiance. We are going to be answering some questions today and we're just going to get right into it because there's so many we want to get through and there's some amazing questions that you guys asked. I asked you guys over on Instagram. If you're not following us, I'll have them both linked in the description below. That's usually where I ask people questions. So if you want to be a part of the next Q&A, definitely follow us over there. So shall we?
We shall.
Okay, so two of the most asked questions, y'all are so funny, are sexual boundaries and how did we know that the other person was the one? And I think that's a question we get people messaging us about as well. Is like, how do I know that God wants us together? So to go into more detail on me, the way I knew, the first thing God did was, I think it was the third or fourth day, I was in the shower, fourth day, I was in the shower and God told me to start thinking about the list that I had made of the characteristics I wanted in a future husband. And this was the first time God had ever called me to compare a man to that list. But even then, I didn't get ahead of myself. I was just like, okay, God, noted, because everything I could think of, Kyle checked off. But still, I was like, guard my heart in this. And then it was probably the 6th or 7th day where God just really gave me peace, like, this is gonna be your husband. So it definitely was kind of like I was hearing from God, and yeah, I had a lot of peace about it, and it just didn't feel right to just say maybe we'll get married, you know?
Right, yeah, you made it clear.
What about you, hon?
Yeah, so for me, God was opening me up back to relationships again, leading into this. And, I didn't know, I wasn't searching for it, I wasn't looking for it, but when I met Kian, we clicked so well, and Holy Spirit just brought us together, and through a lot of prayer and a lot of time with the Lord, He just kept giving me so much peace about it, and so much confirmation that this is going to be somebody very special in my life. And we had 7 days together on the ship to really dive in and get to know each other. And by day 7 I just knew, and He made it so clear, and we were praying on it, and He just spoke to me, and He was like, yeah, this is your wife, this is who I am blessing you with.
So I think within that, look for peace, clarity, and confirmation.
Absolutely.
When it comes to that.
He's not a God of confusion. He'll let you know, and He'll fill you with His peace if it's from Him. When
you're ready to know. Right. He might not reveal it to you right away, and there probably specific reason for that.
Right.
So many things about boundaries. There were some really great specific ones. How do you deal with sexual temptations? Practical boundaries to establish in dating. Physical/emotional boundaries in dating versus engagement. So many good questions about boundaries. And like I said before, we're going to do a whole video on it because it was kind of a longer process than I imagined. I thought it was going to be just super easy.
Day 1, these are the boundaries.
Yeah, but it actually took us until now, which is what,
couple months,
a little bit over 3 months to really get a feel for what our boundaries need to be.
We had some very clear ones in the beginning, and obviously they're everlasting, they're gonna stick, right? We're not swaying from those, but it's more so like the kissing and those kind of boundaries that we had to figure out.
Yes, so that was our biggest boundary, is we weren't going to go past kissing.
Right.
/ making out, I guess.
Right.
So that has always been a boundary.
And always will till marriage.
Always will. And someone specifically asked how far we've gone sexually. I appreciate your boldness. We have not done anything besides kiss.
Yep, that's it.
Staying strong in that.
Right.
Okay, we just had to make a whole video about it because there's so much detail I want to go into, but we will just give you what they are, and then in our boundaries video we'll go into more detail about how we arrived there, lessons we learned, places we messed up, and all that stuff in more detail.
That's good.
So our first boundary is no sleeping over, and that's not something we've been perfect at, and it was just we'll get into that later. But yeah, that is a boundary that is now set in stone, is no spending the night with each other.
Right. I want to save that for marriage.
Yes. Okay, you want to say our next one?
So no making out, laying down, or sitting up.
Yeah,
or sitting
or just
even. Just basically if we're standing because it's not going to lead to like any other sexual temptation. We're kissing that way, but outside of that, we don't want to be put in a position that can lead us toward that temptation of going deeper and falling into more, or falling into lust, which is, very simple for, anybody to do. So put that boundary up, and once again, want to save that for marriage as well.
I think just in general, no masturbating. Like, neither of us do that. Kyle doesn't watch porn. I don't watch porn.
Right.
And that has helped tremendously, I think, and set us up. And that's something we started doing before we met each other.
Right.
So that has really helped as well, because if we were just not doing anything sexually, but I was still doing sexual stuff in my own time, it would definitely make me more lustful and desire to lead us into that even deeper because of what I was doing in my personal time. So that is another thing to consider as well.
Absolutely. And even more so, it's also, honoring God with our bodies, these temples that he blessed us with. Like, he doesn't want us doing that kind of stuff. So it's something that you need to be very clear and concise with in the beginning, and making sure that you're not doing that. And if you are, then doing what you need to do to get out of that place.
And I was trying to find that one girl who referenced that verse.
Oh, 1 Corinthians?
Yeah. So somebody asked us, just to go into that a little bit deeper, someone asked us about 1 Corinthians 7:1. Don't you think you guys are breaking that rule by kissing and touching, even if you guys will still get married, but currently not? Love you. Thanks. Love you too. Appreciate that question. So we did look up that verse just so we could go through it again. So the biggest statement in it is, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman, but because of the temptation to sexual immorality. And then it goes on to say you should have a wife and a husband.
And I think something that, comes from that, which is, it's very powerful, because having sexual relations can build up that lust, like we talked about. And that lust can lead towards falling into temptation, which is obviously sexual immorality, something that God does not want us to do. And it's very important that we don't do that. He says to flee from temptation. So anything that's leading you to that temptation, you must flee from. Like, not, okay, let me just flirt around this line, but run, right? And I feel like that's what he's saying there, is that it's not good to have those sexual relations, but because of the temptation to sexual immorality. So in this case, with just kissing, now, disclaimer, everybody's different, right? If you just peck somebody and give them a little kiss and that fills you with lust and that makes you really tempted to go deeper, that's a different story. You flee from that. You don't do it. That's it, period. But in certain situations with certain people, because everybody is different, God is going to convict us all the way that we need to be convicted. And if I'm kissing her and not feeling that temptation or that lust to dive deeper, and she's not either, then it's not a temptation. It's not something that we need to flee from. But that's why you have to have boundaries and have just guidelines on what is okay and what is not, and an understanding between the two to make sure you're both on the same page with that.
So not to say we disagree with that at all.
Not at all.
Some people definitely need the boundaries of no kissing at all, and I think that's a beautiful thing. For us personally, kissing does not lead us to any kind of temptation. Right. And that is the only reason why we feel okay with it, is because we're not convicted and it has not led us into any temptation at all. So a lot of questions about kids and have we talked about when we want to have kids. We have, how many kids do you want? I don't know if I think we've
talked about it. I don't know exactly, but I think 3 is a good number.
Yeah.
Right? I think you said that too.
Yep, probably 3.
Yeah, and
unless we have twins. Yeah.
We'll see.
He wants 2 boys for sure.
Yeah. I want boy, girl, boy. I have 3 sisters, no brothers. Always wanted a brother, and I think it's really cool to have, as a girl, to have an older brother and a younger brother.
I would prefer 2 boys first and then twin girls. knock those 2 girls out.
Wow.
Because I would like her to have a sister, so that's why I'm like maybe 4.
Okay, so 4.
And then
if we have twins, I'll go 4.
Okay. And we've talked about probably at least 2 years after we're married. 2 to 3 years after.
I was gonna say that number dropped.
Yeah.
I think we said like 5 years when we talked about it before.
We never said 5 years.
Because I remember I joked. I said Jesus started his ministry at 33, so I'll start my family ministry at 33.
Okay. I think after being married for about 3 years, maybe we'll start trying.
Okay.
But we'll see. We have no idea what marriage is gonna be like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to have kids.
Yes.
I can wait.
Yeah, we can wait. I like this question. What was Kyle's point of view? Did he want a relationship, or was that not a priority in his life?
I've been huge with relationships. I love relationships. I'm very relational, and I always seeked after a relationship. And then over the last 2 years, when I got encountered by Jesus and started diving into him, relationships went out the window. It was just about Jesus and I, no one else. That's it, period. And then I got to the point where I felt like God was actually calling me to stay single for the rest of my life and that him be my only relationship. I think it's a eunuch. I think I got that right. But there's certain people and they don't get married. They just stay single and their relationship is with Jesus, their whole life living for him, as we do anyway, but with no other relationship. And I did that for about probably 6 months of solid conviction, just like convinced that that was going to be the way it was going to be. And I think God gave me that though, so I would die just extremely intentionally and deep in the relationship with him.
Not even be distracted.
No distractions at all. So yeah, like I would like meet other girls and like I'd have other girls come up to me like, oh, so-and-so is interested in you. And I'm just like, I'm married to Jesus. Like that was my answer, and I was honest about it. I was serious. There is no question in my mind that I was going to get in a relationship. After about 6 months of that, God started opening my heart back up to relationships. My foundation in him was getting more founded, more concrete. So I started opening back up to it and then started getting excited about it again, and that led to the dating apps. Because I was like, you know what, maybe there is somebody out there for me. So I started looking, I started searching. Did not work. It did not work. So I just realized, I was trying way too hard to like find this person. And I just got to this point where I realized that this isn't going to work. So I stopped searching. I think I stopped searching more so about 4 months before meeting you. Okay. I think that's what it was. And then I stopped searching and I just threw it out the window again. I was like, you know what, God, if there is somebody out there, you're gonna bring them to me and I'm gonna find them at the right time. When you went on the cruise, were you open to a relationship, but you were just waiting? Yeah, I was extremely open, but very patient. I was not looking at all. I told him when I'm ready and my foundation is complete, well, not complete, but like my foundation's set and solid in you, bring me back into business and relationships. That's a great prayer to pray if you are in a single season, is to pray that God will bring you back into relationship when your foundation is solid. He comes first. Until then, don't even ask about relationship or seek relationship, and just trust God that he will bring you out of that season when you have a solid foundation. Amen. And when your future partner has a solid foundation, because you might be ready, but you should start praying for your future hubby because he might not be. Yeah, start praying now, like right now, every day. Were you open to a relationship? Yeah, I remember I got on the ship and Brittany, the bride, was talking to me and Faith, which is her sister-in-law, and we were both talking about how we were in a season of singleness. And Brittany's like, well, who knows, maybe you'll both meet your husbands on the ship. And Faith was like, oh no, I know I'm not supposed to be in a relationship. And I was like, well, I'm open to it, but I think I talked about that more in that dating apps video. That's the only reason why I was trying the dating apps, because I felt like God was opening me up back to a relationship. I just thought it was gonna come when I moved, but it came sooner. God's timing. That reminds me of another question. Did you pray for your future spouse in advance? And this is kind of a cool story. This is so cool. So you started praying for me I think it was around August of 2018. is when I started praying for my future wife.
Mm-hmm. And it's so crazy because at that time, like August, September, I was actually in a relationship that wasn't centered around God, and I was having so much conviction and conflict in that. And it was during that time when he started really praying for me that I ended things with that person. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep. And
So
I like
cool.
went back through my journal, and like the timeline is exactly, it matches up exactly. As soon as he started praying for me, that's when I started getting heavy conviction to end the relationship.
So much power in prayer, guys.
Yeah. So definitely encourage you to do that. I was praying, but I wouldn't say I was praying very diligently. Sorry,
Yeah.
babe.
just one prayer here and there.
Yeah, one prayer there.
Hey,
here and there.
God uses this.
A lot of people are asking when we're getting married, the month of the wedding. We're getting married in October of 2020. God willing, as long as everything settles down by then.
And if you're not praying for this coronavirus to go away, start praying. Start praying. We all need to come together in unity to pray against this thing.
How did you deal with passing up other awesome Christian men in the process of finding Kyle? And I think we can also flip that on you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was actually really funny because God guarded me pretty heavily. I was like, I think I'm a great catch, and literally nobody asked me out. No one was trying to pursue me. I was very single, and I was around a lot of single young adults, and like no one was pursuing me. So God helped in that. And then the couple people, like maybe one or two people, God just like gave me a lot of clarity, and like timing never was right. Not kissing anyone unless I knew I was gonna marry them. So since that kind of went out of the window, like kissing was off the table. I knew I wasn't gonna have that intimacy with someone unless they were my husband, so I wouldn't really entertain people who I didn't think were gonna be my husband because I wasn't craving that physicalness with somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's
And
powerful.
I know you had a lot of women approaching you because you're so cute. So how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, God protected me in the same way, you know, maybe a different way, but the same kind of way. Like I said, for when I first came to him, he had me push relationships just out the window.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were on the back burner. It wasn't even a thought. So, and then he like gave me this conviction that I was never gonna get married and just be in love with him for the rest of my life, which I still am and will be, but only him. Through that, it really protected me from a lot of things that I probably would have stepped into. You know, I probably would have just been like, why not? Let's give it a shot. You're a godly woman, I'm a godly man. Let's see if it works. Same thing with you. It's, you know, no sexual contact. Like I wasn't kissing anybody. I wasn't even thinking about it.
Not even really going on dates.
No dates, nothing like that. Just trying to build the kingdom, man, and giving God everything that I had. So he protected me in that way through like my obsession and my obedience to him. And then, you know, there were times where like with the dating apps and here and there, like towards later down the road that I started opening back up to it. But even when I was opening back up to it, he never gave me that peace of just like, hey, this is something I want you to step into. When I would pray on it, it would more so be the opposite. Like my flesh would be like, this is something I can step into, and he would just give me confusion. I would receive confusion over it, knowing that that's not from God, because God's not a God of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So since I never got that peace, I never stepped into anything, and he guarded my heart in that way, which is amazing because he guarded their hearts in that way too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a huge thing also that helped, was looking at every guy and saying, he has a future wife, and if I'm not her, I don't want to be put on this list of women she has to think about when she gets into a relationship with him. And that was such a blessing for me that you refrained from all that, because now when I go to visit his hometown and meet people at his church, I know he doesn't have romantic history with any of them.
Right.
You know, and that's a blessing. And if he did, we would work through it, but it's really nice that he gave me that honor and respect, even though he didn't know it. in his singleness. And I tried my best to do the same. So like when you meet people, it's like I'm not around a bunch of people who I've gone on dates with or kissed or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So it
brings a lot of peace.
Yeah, it's a huge blessing in a way to honor your future marriage when you don't even know who you're marrying yet, and honor other people's marriages as well. In what way does Kyle intentionally display being the leader of your relationship?
What do you think, babe?
I think some of the biggest ways is initiating prayer, always praying over me, encouraging me to seek God. As of lately, I think it was like a transition for you to kind of step into leadership and really figuring out what it means to lead two people instead of just yourself.
Big difference.
Yeah. So we actually had to talk pretty recently of like how I want that to, like, that aspect of our relationship to grow. And since we had that conversation, you really stepped up in prioritizing time we spend together in the Word, and yeah, just encouraging me to go deeper in different ways.
Thanks, love.
You're welcome, babe.
Yeah. It's easy leading yourself with Jesus. Then once somebody else comes in the picture, it's not just about you anymore, and I didn't think it was going to be as hard of a transition as it was. Yeah. But it's amazing because he's just growing me in new ways and helping me to surrender in new ways to be that person, not just for me, but for you too. And yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely a process. It's a growing journey, but it's fun.
Patience and grace.
Yeah.
You guys have a premarital counselor. Yes, we're going to premarital classes. They just started last week, and it is 13 weeks.
Yeah, they're fun.
We can show them. I'll insert the book that we are going through with them in case you guys are going through it. He's gonna grab it. This is the book. I actually have like an Amazon page where I have all my favorite like devotionals and books that we've like read together. So it'll be linked below if you guys are interested in that.
Highly recommend it.
Yes.
Very good.
Somebody asked what our biggest fight was.
Ooh.
Before we answer that, I actually am gonna cut off the video here and we'll go into a part 2. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will answer that question in the next video. So stay tuned. Give this video a thumbs up if you want to see it. And maybe I'll post it a little bit sooner than expected. But we hope you enjoyed these questions. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with a friend who you think could benefit for this. And we love you guys so much.
Love you guys. God bless.
Bye.